Once upon a time, there was a small village nestled in a valley surrounded by tall, snowy mountains. The villagers were simple farmers who worked hard to grow crops and raise animals on the limited land around the village. There was one young boy named Jax who loved exploring the mountains around his village. He would often wander through the pine forests, climb over rocky cliffs, and explore winding mountain trails. The village elders always warned Jax to be careful and not go too far up the dangerous mountain slopes. But Jax's sense of adventure always overtook his sense of fear. He wanted to discover new places and see things no one else from his village had laid eyes on before. One sunny morning, Jax set out early, determined to scale the tallest, snow-capped peak that loomed over the valley. He packed a bag with food and supplies and headed into the pine forest at the base of the mighty mountain. Jax hiked all morning, stopping to eat wild berries along the path. The air grew colder and thin as he got higher up the mountain. Suddenly, the trees ended and Jax found himself above the timberline. He was surrounded by rocky cliffs and ice. He tightened his cloak against the chilling wind. But Jax pressed on, determined to reach the top. As he climbed over a steep rocky ridge, Jax stumbled onto a wide plateau. He froze in shock at what he saw. There in front of him was the massive, coiled body of a gigantic dragon. Jax had heard tales of dragons in the village, but no one had seen one for many generations. Yet this beast was very real. The dragon was covered in emerald green scales. Its gigantic wings were folded neatly on its back. Razor-sharp claws dug into the icy terrain. The dragon's eyes were closed as it lay snoozing in the midday sun. Jax knew he should run. But his curiosity rooted him to the spot. He had to get a closer look at this amazing creature. Slowly and quietly, Jax crept closer across the rocky plateau. He held his breath as he came within just a few meters of the sleeping dragon. Jax was close enough now to see the dragon's slow, rhythmic breathing. Mesmerized, Jax reached out to touch its green scales. But just as he did, one of the dragon's giant yellow eyes snapped open. Jax stumbled backwards in terror as the colossal dragon lifted its head and stared directly at the tiny human. A rumbling growl emerged from deep within the dragon's throat and it bared its sword-like teeth. Jax turned and fled, scrambling over the rocky terrain. But the dragon unfurled its massive wings and leapt into the air. With just 2 beats of its wings, it caught up to the fleeing boy. The dragon swooped down and snatched Jax into its clawed grip. It soared high up into the clouds as Jax screamed. Higher and higher they climbed until the air grew thin. Suddenly, the dragon turned and dived straight down, plunging into thick gray clouds. They burst through the clouds and Jax found himself in a hidden valley ringed by towering, ice-crusted peaks. In the center of the valley was a glittering blue lake. Near the shore sat an enormous cavern. The dragon flapped over the lake and swooped into the dark cavern, finally dropping Jax onto the smooth, obsidian floor inside. Jax lay frozen in fear, unable to move or run back outside. The dragon stared intensely at the boy, wisps of smoke curling from its nostrils. Jax was sure this would be his end. But after what seemed an eternity, the fearsome dragon did something unexpected. Very gently, it nudged Jax with its gigantic head, almost like an affectionate cat. Too shocked to move, Jax just watched as the dragon curled itself around the cavern. It rested its massive head next to Jax and closed its eyes. Jax sat up cautiously. It was clear the dragon did not want to harm him. Marveled, Jax slowly reached out and touched the dragon's earthy green scales. They were surprisingly warm. Jax lay back against the dragon's neck and soon drifted off to sleep. When Jax awoke, he was alone in the cavern. He ran to the entrance and saw the emerald dragon circling high above the secluded valley. Jax waved his arms and called out. With a roar, the dragon turned and flew down to the cavern ledge. It lowered its head and allowed Jax to hug its muzzle tight. From that day on, Jax returned often to the hidden valley, bringing books and tools from his village. Piece by piece, he taught the intelligent dragon about his language and ways of life beyond the valley. Years passed and a deep bond formed between boy and dragon. On Jax's 16th birthday, he asked the dragon for one special gift, to be allowed to ride on its back. The mighty dragon agreed. Jax clung tight as the dragon pumped its wings, carrying them up above the clouds and soaring over the entire valley kingdom. The thrill was unimaginable. From then on, they flew together every day. The dragon allowed Jax to guide their flight using gentle nudges and tugs on its horns. They performed loop-the-loops and daring dives through the clouds. They chased eagles and raced the winter winds. After many more years, Jax decided the time had come to share his greatest friend with the outside world. The dragon agreed to return with Jax to his village in the valley below. At first, the villagers cowered in fear when they saw the enormous dragon circling down from the sky. But Jax calmed their panic and introduced the dragon as his trusted friend. He showed them how the dragon was now as gentle as a lamb. To prove it, Jax walked the dragon through the village on a leash of woven silk. Children giggled and reached out to pet its soft wings. From then on, the dragon protected the village and kept it safe from harm. It flew Jax up the mountains to fetch ice from the glaciers to cool the village on hot summer days. The dragon melted rock and formed a lake for year-round fresh water. Under Jax's guidance, the dragon helped the village prosper. And the boy and the dragon lived together happily ever after.